Hi, welcome back to Educator.com. Today we're going to talk about writing the essay for the writing section portion. Our legal disclaimer: test names are the registered trademarks of the respective owners. Said owners are not affiliated with Educator.com. The College Board was not involved in the production of and does not endorse this course. This lesson is all about figuring out how to do that essay portion on the SAT. We're going to start off by talking about the basic essentials of the essay, what you absolutely have to do, what makes it up. Then we're going to talk about how it's officially supposed to be scored and how it sort of really gets scored. And we'll talk about how there's a difference between what you're told and how things really go. With all that in mind, we'll be ready to talk about the strategies, best strategies for taking on the essay so you can really do a great job, how to work on different examples, and how to put the whole thing together. So we got a nice lot of information that we're going to go over here. Let's go. Basic essentials for it. The SAT essay prompt is broken into two parts. First, you're going to see a short passage of text. That passage will be some sort of excerpt from maybe a piece of literature, a quote, or maybe just some piece of text that's somehow going to be related to the writing assignment. Then there's the actual writing assignment. This is the part that's important. The passage, it doesn't really matter that much. The passage is useful because it sparks your ideas, but the assignment is where the money's at. That's the question you're supposed to address and answer in your essay. This is what your essay has to be about. This is what your essay has to be on. The passage, that passage of text, that's only there to get you thinking, to get your, brain juices flowing. The assignment is what you actually write about, so that's the important thing you really need to pay attention to. You're going to get 25 minutes total, just 25 minutes to write the whole essay. That's going to include reading that prompt, brainstorming anything you're going to figure out about what you will write, and then any editing you manage in addition to actually writing the whole sucker. You're going to have 2 blank pages to write in. You could just write one, but as we'll talk about later, you're going to want to write more than just one. You write in pencil, just like you do the rest of the SAT. No surprise there. How is it scored? The official scoring rubric is you have 2 readers. Well, no matter what, you'll have 2 readers reading your essay. They're each going to score on a 1 to 6 scale, and then they combine it to give you a 2 to 12. But really, what you're looking for is 1 to 6. So when you're looking at, other essay samples or the scores at the when you're figuring out your scoring table, you'll see the numbers 1 to 6, not 2 to 12, because the 2 to 12 is combined from 1 to 6 scores. It's also possible to get a 0 if you manage to write something that is completely impossible to read, or more likely probably that you write something totally off topic. So, it matters how you write. It matters that what really matters is that you actually write about the topic you were given. There's a variety of specific guidelines for scoring, but we can get a pretty good idea of how the rubric works by looking at it as a scale with 2 extremes. Over here is the 1 extreme, and then at the other end is the 6 extreme. The 6 is a really, really good essay. It's something that has clear, intelligent answer to whatever the question is. You'll get that assignment, and it's going to very clearly address it, and it will have a definite answer, and it's going to do a great job of backing up its answer. It's going to make wonderful use of examples, it's going to be kind of interesting to read, and it's going to have virtually no errors in grammar. It's going to make a lot of sense. Out of 1, on the other hand, this essay is absolutely just really bad. If you look at the 1 essay samples, they're terrible. They're going to kind of have to do with the assignment. They're not going to be completely off the wall, but they're pretty darn bad. So check it out and you'll feel pretty good. You can be pretty confident you're not going to get a 1. If you're in the kind of position where you're watching a course like this, you're almost certainly not going to get a 1. So don't worry too much about that. The question is more, can you get a 4, a 5, or a 6? So 1, really, really bad essay. 6, excellent essay. That's the official scoring rubric. If you want a more specific idea about it, go check out the essay section in your SAT book or look online. But really, that SAT book I recommended before, the blue book, it's got lots of useful information for being able to see how that rubric breaks down. It has really specific ideas of how the rubric breaks down, and then gives you a lot of samples. So those samples are really useful for you to have an idea of just how good your essay needs to be in competition. It'll help you familiarize yourself with this. It helps you to familiarize yourself with this, so skim those essays, get a sense of how good is a 6 versus how good is a 5 versus how good is a 4, etc., etc. So go out there, look through those examples, look through that scoring rubric, get a sense of it. Now that we've talked about the official scoring rubric, me saying that you should go out and get a sense of how it is really scored is a little bit, questionable, because in reality, It doesn't exactly work like that. So obtaining a good score on the essay, it will require the ability to write a basic essay. You have to be able to carry out the basics of writing an essay. You have to be able to write sentences, have that paragraph structure, have examples backing up a thesis, have a clear thesis, have a conclusion to your argument. You need all those things, but you've been working on those since middle school, if not even earlier. So that's the thing that's absolutely necessary. But the difference between like a 4 and a 6, it doesn't actually have to be a good essay. And we'll see why in just a few moments. So in real life, writing a truly great essay takes a lot of stuff. You have to have strong, logical arguments based off of creative, interesting examples. You have to have an authentic, captivating writing style. It has to be interesting to read, has to say something useful to the reader, and it has to really do a good job making the reader believe that. A truly great essay is an amazing thing. That's not the case on the SAT. Maybe this is a good thing, maybe it's not a good thing. From your point of view as the student, it's probably great because it means it's that much easier. From the point of view of education in general, it means that the SAT is kind of saying, hey, go out there and write a bad essay. How is it a bad essay? We'll talk about that in just a few more seconds. But this SAT essay, your best bet is to write a simplistic, formulaic essay. Nothing creative, nothing truly deep about it, and that's actually what's going to get you a 6 as your score. What's going to get you a pair of 6s that's going to get you a 12. So, yeah, not something that kind of breaks my heart, but you as the student should be excited about the fact that this is actually going to be a lot easier than you might have been worried about. So, why is this the case? That's an excellent question. Here's the fundamental reason. Basically, the readers who go through these essays, they spend only 2 or 3 minutes per essay. 2 or 3 minutes. And in fact, I've heard numbers as low as 1 minute, but that might just be a rumor. But the official word is that it's 2 or 3 minutes per essay. That is not a lot of time. That's plenty of time to figure out, oh yeah, this has basic grammar, this has the structure of an essay, I get kind of the idea of what it's saying, but it's not enough time to analyze it deeply. You won't be able to deeply understand what the arguments are saying, you won't be able to really critically look at the author's writing style, you won't be able to do a really in-depth analysis of it. So that means the difference between a 4 to a 6 is more about how you set up in the formula of the essay, not how well you did on like a deep true sense. You can be a fantastic writer and still not get that greatest score because you didn't follow the formula they're expecting. And they expect this formula because they have to grade very, very quickly. And also you have to write very, very quickly. So it's about writing something formulaic on the essay. You want to follow the writing formula that you've been taught in middle school. And as you got older, you probably realized, oh, you know what? That essay formula, to be honest, an introductory paragraph followed by 3 body paragraphs followed by a concluding paragraph, that's kind of boring. That's not really the best way to write an essay. All the really good essays I've read, all the really good pieces of writing I've read, they've taken that idea and they've turned it in some way to make something deeper out of it. You might have started to realize that as you've done more and more English over the years. By the time you make it to a senior in high school, if you're a solid writer, you know that the basic formula for writing an essay, it's more of a guideline that you should be varying slightly when you're writing something excellent. But that's not what they're looking for. These readers are looking for something that's going to look good at a glance. Those quotation marks, that's important. It's not about writing something that's solidly meaningfully great. It's about just sort of skimming the surface and hitting that formula and knocking out all the examples and being able to set up the structure of an essay as it stereotypically is. The deeper elements of writing, those that make an essay truly great, really creative choices, those have no place on an excellent SAT essay. If you're going to be writing an SAT essay, you're better off writing formulaic, simplistic stuff. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean if you wrote a mind-blowingly good essay, it would get a 6. It would get a great score. But it takes real effort and difficulty to write something mind-blowingly good, and you've got 25 minutes. Instead, you stick to the formula, you keep it simplistic, and you'll be able to get an excellent score with just a little bit of effort. So that's where this lesson's going to be going. Also, even more depressingly, multiple studies, such as one done by MIT, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, which you've probably heard of, these studies have shown that the strongest predictor of essay score is just the essay's length. The number of lines written on the essay is the best way to figure out how it's going to score on average. That is just heart-wrenching if you want to think about what makes good writing. That is not the way to encourage good writing, is by saying, oh, hey, just write a lot of words and that's good writing. By middle school, I'm sure you realized that writing a lot of words did not make your essay good, did not make your writing better. On the SAT, though, that's not the case. So depth of argument, really true, deep creativity, authentic writing voice, these are the things that make fantastic essays, make fantastic works of writing, but on the SAT, they're not necessary. They are so far from necessary, and in fact, they might actually wind up harming you, because you might wind up writing a shorter essay because you figured out a really creative, intelligent way to make an argument, and the reader's just looking for something that's more than one page. If it's less than one page, I'm sure it's not better than a 4. And so you actually might have managed to do a fantastic piece of writing that was very short, very to the point, and you lost a lot of it for that. So that's really sad. That's tragic. But what you want to do on the essay is learn to crank out a lot of words. We'll talk about that down the road. Also, this part is kind of crazy. The readers aren't going to take off any points for incorrect facts or false examples. So there's actually a pretty good reason behind this. They don't want students to worry about getting their facts exactly right when they only have 25 minutes. I mean, does it really matter if you accidentally screw up and call the Civil War 1865 versus 1860 versus 1870? I mean, if you had more time, you'd go and you'd look at it in a book and you'd fact check yourself and be able to put the right thing in from the beginning. So they can't. They are in fact not allowed to take points off for incorrect facts or incorrect examples. If something is not true, that has nothing to do with whether or not it gets a good score, in theory. So you don't have to worry about being right on every single thing. And also, let's consider this. The readers, if they're doing an essay in 3 minutes, there's no way they have the time to actually do a good job fact-checking and scoring in just 3 minutes. So both from an expediency point of view, on the point of the test makers, they can't expect their readers to fact-check. And also, they don't want to make the students sweat too much about getting all their facts exactly correct. But this also means you can twist this into this really bizarre thing. You can out and out lie to your audience if you feel like it. If you feel like making up some wild fact, you can do it. And in theory, you're not going to lose any points. So you can actually go ahead and lie to your audience. We'll talk about this a considerable amount down the road, about whether or not it's actually worth it to lie or if you should be using true examples. For the most part, you're going to want to stick to true stuff, but once in a while, you might be better off lying. Crazy.